turning within and to open our awareness to God, I don't say that it's just then that God's showing up. It's always there. It's just, you know how you have blood in your veins? You know it's always there? When's the last time you turned within and go, wow, thank you for the blood in my veins? That's all we're doing. Is we're just turning in and we're going, thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit, for being alive and awake and pulsing through me the same way my blood pulses through my circulatory system. Same thing. That's it. How many days have you gone without blood in your circulatory system? How many? Not long. Not long. How long have you gone without God pulsing through you? Not long. Never. Never. And see, God does it in the same way, and it's so magnificent and harmonious in the way that it moves through us that it creates the illusion that we're separate from it. Same way, it's like how many times do we really stop to give thanks for the blood of our life that flows through us? We can't live very long without blood. Ask my wife, nurse, RGH, she'll tell you. Not long. Not long. How long do you think we can live without awakening to that presence and being conscious aware of it, really awake and alive? See, we can go through life. It doesn't mean we're awake and alive to that energy. And the more that we become more of that, aware of that energy, the more excited and passionate we become. And the more that we want to express our love, and the more that we want to be happy and joyous. And then what happens is we start seeing things clearer. And suddenly flowers that we walked by that we didn't notice before become more brilliant. Suddenly we start noticing the sunsets. And you know how the sun is getting down and it's reflecting off the earth, and that's the perfect time the photographers always love, and it finds its rays through the clouds, and pretty soon you go, that's God. That's God, instead of, the sun's going down. So you see, it teaches us to appreciate the precious moments more readily. When we can see the beauty in our partners, how many times a day do we just overlook how magnificent those people are that we share life with? When we're attuned to prayer, when we have conscious contact with God, we can see the beauty much easier. It's not hard for me to see the beauty of my partner. It's not hard for me to see the beauty of my children. But it doesn't mean that I always am able to do it. Because why? Because I'm still dealing with that thing called being human. I want to show you the next quote. Philip Yancey, a well-known Christian writer, writes this: like all good things, prayer requires some discipline. You all know that word? Discipline. You know that thing like going to the gym. You know, eating less carbs. Oh, those are mine. Sorry. Like all good things, prayer requires some discipline. Yet I believe that life with God should seem more like friendship than duty. Prayer includes moments of ecstasy. And listen to this is what I love. And also dullness, mindless distraction, and acute concentration. Flashes of joy and bouts of irritation. You know, how many of us turn within and we're waiting for that spiritually enlightening transformational moment? Come on, God, show up. Give me a sign. Just show up. Give me a sign that you're there. In other words, prayer has features in common with all relationships that matter. True? Don't we relate to prayer the same way we relate to those closest to us? God, you irritate me. How does God irritate? We keep waiting for something to happen. So I want to share with you, I've only shared this maybe 5 or 6 times in the last 20 years since it happened. Many of us need proof that God exists. That proof that prayer works. And what I'm going to share with you in this story is prayer does not need to be complicated. Sometimes the most powerful prayers can simply be no. That can sometimes be the most powerful prayer there is. So I'm going to give you an example of how that works. My first job as a minister, or second job as a minister, was taking a church in Oklahoma City. In the middle of the country, and it was definitely the belt of the Bible, or the buckle of the Bible belt. And being back there in August, it was absolutely astonishing how many more churches have been built. Unless you've been somewhere through the Midwest like Oklahoma City, you have no idea how many churches they have. It's almost hard to explain. It's like saying there's more churches in Oklahoma City than there is Stop and Goes or 7-Elevens and Quick Mart and gas stations. It's that many, and that many people attend church. On Sundays, everything shuts down. There's no malls, there's no stores open in general before noon because everybody's at church. And so my church there was on a pretty main street, kind of like it would be on like Shelburne. 4-lane road, we're most of the way, or all the way, and if you followed the road all the way south, our roads were straight out there because the land was flat, and they're all built on sections of land. So there's a mile in between each road, and our road was about 30-40 miles long, and if you went all the way to the north end, it was about 35 miles, and if you took it to the south, you ran right into our airport. So it's a pretty main road. And our church sat there on 5 acres with 177 parking places, 14,500 square foot building, all that. But it sat about 300-400 feet off the road. And after being there for a couple of years, one of our members blessed us with a gift of a dog, a little schnauzer. And I'd never had a little dog. I'd had Great Danes growing up and stuff like that. Never had a little dog. And he gave it to us, and he says, and I said, no, we don't want it. Nah, we don't want, no. He says, well, just take it home for 24 hours, and if you don't want it, you can give it back to me. I mean, at that time I lived 18 miles from church, and we took it and we were driving home, and I already had stopped and got a water bowl and a food bowl and food, and we got it we already had it named before we got home. So we called it Shanti, which means peace. And we'd had the dog for about 5-6 months, and we were training it it would come to church with me. We took it to church. I carried it around like I do Libby now. And it would sit in my office while I prayed and counseled with people. And that dog was so intuitive, even when it was a baby, it would know if it needed to go sit in the person's lap while they were maybe going through some emotional stuff and that. And so what I had this habit of is, every couple hours, I would just walk up to the front door, and it would be just kind of like going over to the front door where you came in, and I'd just open it up, and I'd let her go out, and then I'd come out shortly thereafter and watch her, and she'd just kind of run around the building. Well, this one particular time I'd opened up the door, and I guess there's one little thing I should say, is my ex-wife at the time, my wife at the time, but now my ex-wife, she said, quit letting the dog out on your own. You've got to go out with it. And I really listened. I didn't. I was still letting the dog out on its own. So I let the dog out, and as I was getting ready to go out after it, our secretary said, you got a phone call. And I turned and paused for just a few moments, and I said, well, just take a message, because I got to go out with Shanti, and I'll call him as soon as I get back in. And I gave it a little too long. And so I came out, and instead of just going out in the front around the church and around back where it had normally always gone, it had heard dogs barking, which is just like a magnet to a dog. And so it started going down the line, our boundary line between ourselves and the Baptist church next door. And that line was filled with crepe myrtles, if you know what crepe myrtles are. And it was going down, and it was headed towards this road. And this is a busy road. It's called Meridian. And it's a busy 4-lane road. And I can hear the dog barking in the distance. I put 2 and 2 together. My dog's going to cross the street to get to that dog. I got a suit on, suit shoes, dress shoes. And I was about 32 or so. I could still run. And it had about a 200-foot head start on me. And I start running. And I start praying. And I saw the dog get to the curb, and it's about 150 foot ahead of me still. And it paused, because the cars are whizzing by 40, 50 mile an hour. Not kilometers, 40, 50 mile an hour. And I'm about 100 feet away, and I hear this other dog bark across the street that was drawing it. And at the top of my lungs, spontaneously at that same moment, I screamed out, "No!" as loud as I could. And at that point, my dog stepped off the curb and was hit by a car. And I ran down there, and it was woozy. And it was wobbling down the street. And I saw another car from me to the entrance of the door hit my dog at another 40 mile an hour. And I ran up to it. And I scooped it up in my arms, and it was still breathing. I carried it up to my office. And I sat it down. It shook itself off, and it stood up and walked away with only a little scratch, a little lost bit of fur. Now, did it get run over by the tire? I don't know, the first car. Second car didn't hit it, but it hit it with its tire, but it ran over it with its bumper and rolled it underneath the car at 40, 50 mile an hour. So you tell me what prevented that dog from dying. What prevented me from being killed by my ex-wife. So I don't know which one I was praying with, out of faith or fear. So you tell me if prayer works. Now, how many of those do you need in your life? You know how many I needed? One. I only need that one to wonder if prayer works. When you see a dog get hit and you know it should be dead and it walks away from it, and you heard it, and I heard it get hit the first time, that's how powerful prayer is. There's nothing that prayer can't prevent, heal, change, or shift. I have a whole list of stories of scientific data of all the research, of many research projects that have been done by major universities, Kansas, by medical journals, all the finest ones, talking about how prayer reduces high blood pressure, how people that attend a church community live longer and are healthier and have less high blood pressure, how it can help in the healing of AIDS, how it can help recover quickly whenever we have any kind of physical illness, how it reduces the risk of cancer, and on and on and on. If you're wondering about this, just Google health benefits of prayer. Just Google it. And you'll find all this non-secular material, research by science, that has proven what spiritual teachings and religious teachings have been telling for years and decades and centuries. That prayer works. That prayer works. In New Thought, and the way that I've been praying since early in my life, is we have a 5-step prayer. And we're going to have the definition and the 5 steps really easily understandable posted on our website in the next 3 days when I send them to Dre to have posted. And it's a very simple 5 steps. The first step is recognizing that God is all there is. It's recognizing that there's something great out there. It's recognizing that we have a higher power. The second step is unifying, that God moves through me as you. It moves through all forms of life, and it moves through the entire universe. The third step is the realization, or the declaration step, where we realize the truth, or we declare the truth of what we're praying for as if it is already done. When I said no, I wasn't saying I'm hoping for my dog to be safe. I'm hoping for it to make it. I declared that that dog was safe before it stepped across into the highway. And then we give thanks, and we express our gratitude as the 4th step for the prayer that has already manifested. It has already been demonstrated, and it's just going to unfold. And then the 5th step is I release this power, this prayer, these words into the universe, knowing that it's not up to me to figure it out or to make it happen, but to simply let go and let God do its perfect work. That's the way we pray. Recognition, unification, realization, thanksgiving, and release. So it's R-U-R-T-R. Very simple. Ruder. So let me put up this 3rd quote by a guy that I've been studying since about the 4th grade. I've read more books on Abraham Lincoln than you can shake a stick on. I shouldn't say it. I probably read 10, 12 books on him. Just to me, was an incredible human being. Here's what he says, back almost about 160 years ago, right in there, 170, I always forget the exact dates. I have been driven many times to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had absolutely no other place to go. And you know the thing about it is, if you have no other place to go and you go to God, you know how many times it's ever going to reject you? 0. Isn't that incredible? You can always turn within and know you're going to be loved and accepted. Always, always, always. That's what is so fantastic. So fantastic. So I want to read to you about a little boy that prayed before he ate. It goes like this. Everyone was seated around the table as the food was being served. When little Logan received his plate, he started eating right away. Logan, wait until we say our prayer, his mother reminded him, much like at our home. I don't have to, the little boy replied. Of course you do, his mother insisted. We say a prayer before eating at our house every day. That's at our house, Logan explained. But this is Grandma's house, and she knows how to cook. Pretty good? So, I just want to reinforce the importance of prayer in our lives. And I put just a very simple little affirmation that can be a very powerful prayer on your table. And all the people are in Free the Heart. It's already in your workbook, so you don't need to take one. But you're welcome to. Is what it simply says is, I am beautiful, wonderful, and lovable. You pray that prayer on a daily basis, and you put that up next to your bathroom mirror or by your computer or on your refrigerator, and you say that 5 to 50 to 500 times a day. I am beautiful, wonderful, and lovable. Say that with me. I am beautiful, wonderful, and lovable. Turn next to you, somebody next to you, and look them in the eye and say those words. I am beautiful, wonderful, lovable. Turn to somebody else so we make sure everybody's covered. I am beautiful, wonderful, and lovable. Does that not feel good? So imagine, see, what we always understand is the more we love God, the more we love ourselves, the more we love ourselves, the more we love each other around us. Okay? And so I know, how are we if we walk into the grocery store, if we walk into that restaurant, wherever it is that we spend our personal time, into that coffee shop, when we go to work, we walk in there knowing, you know what, man, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful, and I'm lovable. That's a powerful prayer. It sounds so complicated, it sounds so simple, and you think, how many of us really know deep down that we're beautiful? And when we have a conscious connection to God, there's no way that we can know we're not beautiful. Think about what created that sunset. Think about what created this coast that we live on. Think about what created those islands that we look at. Think about what's created those Olympic mountains that we look at. That's the same thing that created you. How did it do in creating all of that stuff? If that's beautiful, what makes you think you're not? What makes you think you're not? I want you to look at this last quote I got up here. This is a good one. I printed this baby out. No, yeah, that's one. I printed this baby out, and I got it around my, you ever come over to my house or you've been in my office, I got all these little pieces of paper. It looks like I'm kind of a weird thing, but I got all these quotes. I came across this one preparing for this talk. This is as good to me as it gets. Why is it important that you are with God and God alone at the mountaintop? You know what the mountaintop is? It's your precipice. It's your peak that's inside of you, and only you can access it. It's not some distant place. We're not talking about some physical location. We're talking about some spiritual, mental location. That's your mountaintop. And what takes us to that place of ascension is through prayer, through meditation, through alignment with what is better, what is greater than us. It's important because it's the place in which you can listen to the voice of the one who calls you the beloved, and will always call you the beloved. We've spent too much time in our life with others that don't always refer to us as the beloved. We've spent too much time dwelling inside of ourselves and not referring to our own self as the beloved. We spent too much time doing that. The one thing about God, it will never refer to you as anything less than the beloved, because you were created in its image and likeness, and it's not conditional in how it loves you. It is unconditional. It continuously loves and accepts and lets us be who we are without saying you need to change that behavior. You get the consequences of the behavior, but God's not going to cause you to change, but it says you can change at any moment if you so desire, and there's areas of your life that need change. I'm going to love you regardless. To pray is to listen to the one who calls you my beloved daughter, my beloved son, my beloved child. To pray is to let that voice speak to the center of your being, to your guts, and let that voice resound in your whole being. You tell me that's not powerful. That is awesome. That is awesome. And when that becomes even more ingrained into us as our spiritual foundation of truth that we rest upon and that we express from, that this is the voice of God that is resounding in our being, then that resounding sound is filled with joy and happiness and goodness. It is filled with that constant awareness that, yes, we are the beloved. We are. So I affirm that if there's anything that has ever told you or convinced you and you've ever bought into it that you are not the beloved, I am affirming right now that that's being shifted, that it's being released to that nothingness from which it came, that there's an awakening and a shifting that's occurring in us at a greater level, because we need to have that consciousness of being the beloved as we prepare for this next shift in consciousness that is coming our way. There's this global earth, this global community is calling for a shift, a transformation on our our planet of the old way of being with each other is not productive anymore. We have to shift. We have to become more compassionate, less head-centered or more heart-based. We have to have corporations, companies, governments that are not making decisions from greed and from power and from conquering, but a place that we're making it from compassion and what's in the best interest of everyone involved. We're making that shift, and to do so, the shift isn't, we don't wait for the shift to happen somewhere else. The shift is taking place right here in centers like this all around the earth. And that as we awaken to that greatness that is within us, we realize that we can no longer thrive in a society that says it's not okay to come from our heart, that it's not okay to be open and expressive of our love. We're tired of being restrained and shut down and limited to how much good and joy and happiness that we can express. And what I know, when we open to prayer and we open to God, it says be, just be. Let us pray. As we turn within to that divine presence that lets us know that we are beautiful, wonderful, and lovable. These are not tears of sadness. These are tears of joy, of just feeling the holiness of Spirit that resides within all of us, that's in this room on this very day, sensing and feeling a greater awareness of Spirit than I did just a few minutes ago. That as we come together in prayer as a spiritual community, we hold the glory and the goodness of God deep and close to our heart. But we know that we express it right now through our thoughts, through our wisdom, through our words. As I right now have the blessing to verbally voice a universal prayer for each of us in this room, including loved ones that you may be holding dear to your heart, that could use that boost of a prayer. I am affirming that there is this goodness of energy, this healing presence moving through any physical ailment that anyone in this room or any loved one that we're holding in our heart may be experiencing. And that energy is filled with the strength and knowledge to shift that body part, that organ, that belief system, that may be causing the appearance of illness or disease. I'm affirming that that energy is moving through any parts of our life that may be experiencing limitation in finances and relationships and job opportunities, wherever that might be. And I'm knowing that this energy is causing those limitations to become opportunities. That it is causing transformation, that instead of seeing that which is not there, we begin to see that which is there. That we begin to see the beauty and the opportunities from different angles, different perspectives, so that we can see what is waiting for us. There's never a shortage. There's never a limitation in this abundant, infinite goodness of life. So I'm knowing that there is an infinite flow in the form of finances, if that's a current place of challenge, in friendships, in love, and that this healing energy is moving through resolving any challenges or roadblocks or little struggles that may be appearing in relationships of any kind, whether it's at work or at home. We're affirming that this goodness continues to grow our center that we call CIL, the Center for Inspired Living, where we come to sense and feel together as a community the presence of Spirit's love and acceptance. That we are growing together and becoming more compassionate for each other, more empathetic for each other, more accepting of each other, because we are aware of our conscious contact with the holiness of the universe. For this and so much more, man, am I thrilled to be alive on November 6th, 2011. May we join together in completing this prayer by affirming out loud together the simple, simple prayer. Amen.